January 9th, 2017. I went to the bookstore and bought this book. John Wooden and Steve Jameson says they're Wooden on leadership. That's the guy right there. I just started reading it, and I can't help but to draw parallels between academia and their failure to lead students, to teach them how to lead. Here's, on the introduction page, page 9, I'll read this out to you. Compete only against yourself. It says here, remember my father's advice. Set your standards high, namely, do the absolute best of which you are capable. Focus on running the race rather than winning it. Do those things necessary to bring forth your personal best, and don't lose sleep worrying about the competition. Let the competition lose sleep worrying about you. Teach your organization to do the same. And here's another statement. Sometimes the competition you and your organization face will be bigger or stronger, more experienced or better financed. Regardless of the situation you face as a leader, you must believe and teach those under your leadership that success is theirs when together you summon the will to put forth everything you have. Doing so is under your control, at least it should be. Now, I don't know if it's obvious to you guys, but to compete only against yourself is not taught in academia. What they teach is to look at your competition, to always be peer-reviewed. Here's a few bullet points that I made up. These academics, they're not on teams. They don't care about each other. They're all out for themselves, for their own careers. They're out to stab each other in the back with politics, grant denial, rejection of papers, and blacklisting. It's pretty nasty shit that they do to each other. And it's real. And they'll deny it at every corner. But they want to make sure that their little groups and cliques are only in-groups, and they're very selective with it. They don't want crazy outsiders to be a part of their little secluded clubs. And they're always pushing the, quote, peer review stuff. So it means they're more concerned with competition and what others think than doing their own work and being the best they can be. And that's why they fail at leading, because they're always concerned about what other people are doing. If they wanted to be real leaders in their fields, they would just do what needed to be done. They wouldn't focus themselves on what other people are doing, or what other people are doing. It doesn't matter what they're doing. You have to focus on your own work and be the best you can be. Instead of saying, oh well, this person published this paper, so all I have to do is publish this paper and then I'm done. It doesn't work. You have to keep on striving to be the best you can be, regardless. At the same time, it's good to have this type of mentality, because what happens if you're the top of your field, if you're the top dog, if you make the best discovery ever made? Who do you look for to lead you? There isn't going to be anybody. You just outclassed all of them. So if you push yourself and look at yourself and make yourself better, there's always something to strive towards. And that's one of the problems I'm facing right now, is if this discovery is real, then I have no peers. I mean, people understand it, but in academia I have no peers, because they don't understand the very basics. So how am I going to look to them for leadership? I can't. They're just going to get in the way. As well, they have the attitude in astronomy and astrophysics of do this or else you don't get a career. Essentially, these are the types of people that have a rifle slung around their shoulders and say, look, you do this or else. And that's not leadership. Threatening somebody's career is not leadership. That's coercion. That's power tripping over people. But that's exactly what the peer review system is. It's power tripping. It's saying, we don't accept your ideas because we disagree with you. Not, are these ideas valid? Have we considered this? It's very corrupt, and it doesn't work anymore. They need to disregard it or completely toss it out. Especially when it comes to pre-publication papers. Why are you going to review pre-publication papers? Those should be just willy-nilly all over the place. But basically, that's that in a nutshell. The other part is initiative. It's taking advantage of an opportunity when the opportunity arises, right as it arises. I'll go ahead and read this out and then go over a few bullet points that I noticed here. On page 36, a basketball team that won't risk mistakes will not outscore opponents. The same is true for any organization. Fouls, errors, and mistakes are part of the competitive process in sports, business, and elsewhere. Don't live in fear of making a mistake. In fact, Coach Lambert at Purdue summed it up like this: the team that makes the most mistakes usually wins. He was talking about the next block of the pyramid. This is his success pyramid initiative. The kinds of mistakes he was referring to are not the result of carelessness or sloppiness, but the result of assertive action based on proper assessment of risk. In sports, action often must be taken instantaneously to capitalize on opportunity. In every organization, time is of the essence when opportunity knocks. Assertive action based off proper assessment of risk. That's why I was such a badass position to get this discovery out there. The risk that I had for getting the discovery out there was essentially zero. There was nobody to threaten me in my career for talking about how I thought Earth was the evolved star at the very end of its evolution, and that stellar evolution is plant formation itself. There's nobody firing me. There's no boss with a rifle slung on his shoulders that can threaten to blacklist me or to reject all my papers before publication. I had no risk, so I took an assertive action and capitalized on my opportunity the moment it happened. Of course, it was a little weird at first because when I was emailing professors, I thought they would email me back, but instead they ignored me. In that light, I realized that these people have guns to their heads. They're not allowed to speak up. They're not allowed to have different ideas other than what the paradigm says is true. So essentially, they're being run by coercion. There are no real leaders in academia. It says here, many leaders instinctively behave like a young college basketball player who picks up 3 quick fouls in the first half and becomes tentative and timid. A coach will sit this player on the bench before he can hurt the team. A tentative business leader, however, stays in the contest to the eventual detriment of the group. Hesitancy, indecisiveness, vacillation, and fear of failure are not characteristics I associate with good leadership. I told our team many times, be quick, but don't hurry. By that, I meant to make a decision, take action, decide what you're going to do, and do it. Keep this word of caution in mind. Quote, failure to act is often the biggest failure of all. And not only that, an even bigger failure is to put yourself in the position to where you cannot act on a major discovery. And that's what academics in astronomy and astrophysics have done. They have forever solidified their inability to take action on major discoveries because they always have to fit their mind into the paradigm, or else they get fired and have to resign from their position at the university. A few bullet points here. In school, these academics are trained to not make mistakes, to get A's, to stay safe. And that's the complete opposite of what it means to be a scientist in my point of view. If you're going to make major discoveries, if you're going to change the world, you're going to make a lot of mistakes. But you have to be able to be keen enough to notice where those mistakes are being made. And you have to air them out. But because of their clickiness and because of how they view each other with arrogance, and because of the fact that they're a dog-eat-dog type community, they essentially cannot make mistakes or let people know that they're making mistakes because it makes them look bad. And it's unfortunate because if you don't make mistakes, you can't learn anything. You're just going to be repeating the same bullshit that was told to your professors and their professors before them. So essentially, horrible ideas are perpetuated throughout history, such as, the black hole and the Big Bang and all that bullshit. And another point, they think it's rash to make mistakes or to claim discovery on something. You have to be a seasoned researcher. And I remember reading somewhere that a seasoned researcher, in light of their ability to make a major discovery, is not exactly correct. Because most major discoveries, I read somewhere, that are made between the person's age of the early 20s and the early 30s, or in the mid-20s and the early 30s. That's when they make major discoveries. So to say some 55 or 60 or 70-year-old person is going to make a discovery, then no. The majority of the discoveries are made early on, when they just come out of college, or they just come out of the school and they're just learning how the world works, and bam, this discovery happens. It doesn't happen after your mind is solidified and there's nothing really new to happen to you. Of course there are outliers, but the majority of the major discoveries happen when the person's young. So to say you have to be seasoned and you have to be a full professor with all these degrees under your belt and all this time teaching before you can make a major discovery is complete nonsense. And I know this myself because I was 26 when I made this discovery. So the rule of thumb is true with me. I'm sure it's true with other people as well. Meaningful work can be done by people who are young. But anyways, I think I made this talk way long enough. Y'all take it easy.